This could be. This could be a huge one. This could be huge. Hey guys, I'm back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Transfer deadline day. And it is all going. It's all heating up. That's the best way to put it. Not been the most exciting by any means. Not been the best by any means. But that doesn't necessarily mean it hasn't been interesting. That doesn't necessarily mean it hasn't been a terrible one, a dull one by any stretch of the imagination. Teams still doing their business left, right, and centre. What we have seen today already, of course, is Gravenberch agree a move to Liverpool. That is set to be done and dusted. Sergio Reguilon is going to Manchester United, is signed on loan at Manchester United. Sofian Amrabat has agreed to join Manchester United. Brennan Johnson and Conor Gallagher could be on their way to Tottenham. Matheus Nunes has signed for Manchester City. That is done and dusted. Cole Palmer has joined Chelsea. Ian Maatsen could be joining Burnley. Rob Holding joining Crystal Palace. But they have nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, on the big breaking news as of right now that Johnny Evans has signed a new one-year deal with Manchester United. There you go. There you have it. Good night, everyone. That is the biggest breaking news of them all. Johnny Evans has signed a one-year deal with United. He'll be staying at Manchester United for the next year. That is it. Transfer deadline day is done. We're good. We're out of here. That's a one-year deal signed. And instantly he moves above Harry Maguire in the pecking order. I'm joking, of course. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to discuss. We're following up with, of course, the Mohamed Salah situation, which seems to be taking another level in elevation. We're, of course, going to be talking about Reguilon and Amrabat. We're, of course, going to be talking about Tottenham's pursuits of Brennan Johnson and Conor Gallagher. A little bit more on Matheus Nunes, Gravenberch to Liverpool, Palmer to Chelsea, Maatsen to Burnley, Holding to Palace, João Palhinha, a deal that is now 100% off, according to Fabrizio Romano. It is all kicking off right now. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking all about these stories, trying to make sense of them all. It is all kicking off right now. I know. I tried this earlier and it didn't work. So I'm doing it again on a seemingly better system with a better setup and a much more simpler setup for me. So, yeah, we're doing it again. So I do apologize if you've seen enough of my face today, but we're doing it again. We're going to be going... we're going to be looking at all these deals. We're going to be looking at the signings and everything. I put the link in the chat. So if you want to join me, if you want to talk football with me, then by all means, hit me up right now. Talk to me and we will get you on the stream so we can talk transfer deadline day and the signings and the stories that be. Without further ado, I would like to remind you all to please hit the like on the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and probably greatly appreciated. And of course, like I say, get involved in the chat. If you want to hit me up, click on the link and join me in this chat. I would love to hear from you all on any of these stories that are buzzing around the world of football on this deadline day. Absolute madness. So, where do we begin? Well, we're going to follow up with the Mohamed Salah situation. Mohamed Salah. Earlier today, a £150 million bid was rejected by Liverpool that came in from Al Ittihad of Saudi Arabia. The 150 million was 100 million up front with 50 million in add-ons. That was rejected. Seemingly, the Saudi Arabian club are going to be coming back in for round 2. As this time they are set to double. Oh, well, I say double their initial the initial price. It seems like they're coming back in for a £200 million bid for the Egyptian winger. My concern is slightly growing. I was concerned earlier today. I was a little bit worried that maybe we might be considering it. If they're going to come in with a £200 million bid before transfer window's even done, my concern is growing. My concern is worrying to the point where now I'm thinking these guys are actually going to consider it. These guys have got 5.5 hours left of this transfer window, and these guys are going to be considering it. So I do worry. I do honestly worry for this if this continues to escalate. The way that obviously Sky want it to escalate and the media wants it to escalate, because this is the big name. This is the big name of today. Like, you can look at, I take the mick out of Johnny Evans. You can look at the Johnny Evans signing. You can look at Amrabat. We all knew that they were going to happen. You can look at Reguilon. You can look at Cole Palmer. You can look at Brennan Johnson, whoever else has gone today. The Salah outweighs them so much that the media are wanting this to happen. They are wanting this to happen, Sky Sports, just so they have something to carry on into the night with. That's all they want. That is very much all they want. They're wanting the story to happen. They're praying Saudi get their man. And like I say, if the price continues to escalate, eventually you would imagine probably Liverpool would have to say yes. And the worrying thing is that will there be then enough time to maybe get a replacement? Does Liverpool maybe have someone lined up? I doubt it. I highly doubt Liverpool are going to be doing any more business today. I think if Liverpool are to do business today, it's going to basically be loan deals out, and it's going to be just a confirmed Gravenberch. That's all I imagine it to be today. Hey, Balam, how you doing, my dude? Nice to see you, man. You there, bro?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. There you
go. Okay.
You're good, mate. How you doing?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Okay, that's good. You can hear me. Do I think Liverpool can sell Salah today? No, I don't think they can afford to sell Salah. No, I mean, it's probably last minute.
Sorry, say again, mate. Sorry, I was just messing around with something.
I'm saying Liverpool cannot afford to sell Salah today. Proper last minute.
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you. I was going to ask you what your thoughts are on. That is amazing breaking news, but I will talk about that in a minute. I'm about to ask you your thoughts on Salah. Do you think, though, there is a threshold that Liverpool will cross in terms of if the money does get to a point where it becomes too much to turn down? Do you think it could potentially happen today? And also bear in mind that Saudi Arabia's transfer window actually closes a few days after Europe's. So do you think there might be a point where Liverpool have to accept, or do you think Liverpool's resolve will be completely tested, but eventually they'll come through?
I mean, 200 million is a lot of money already, so you know what I mean? Like, but Liverpool can't afford to sell him for the whole season, you know what I mean? Like, who do you bring in? Frankie de Jong and Kylian Mbappe? But there's no time for that.
Oh, Jesus. Could you imagine how crazy the deadline day would be if it was Mbappe? I don't. In my opinion, I don't.
That's the problem.
That's the thing. I mean, crazier things have happened, but as I say, we are 5 hours and 20 minutes away from the transfer window shutting completely on this summer. And if you're going to sit there and say, like, Liverpool are going to get rid of Salah in the remaining hours of this window, you're telling me that Liverpool have had someone on their radar that can replicate the goals output, the assists output, the goal contributions that Salah can. I don't think they've got a plan. I don't think they've had a. I think they had a plan at the beginning of the summer, and I think that plan went completely out the window when they got rid of Fabinho, when they got rid of Henderson, and they panicked. And the players that we went after obviously didn't want to come to us. I don't expect them to have a plan if obviously the biggest name on that team sheet decides to leave. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've got any.
I get what you mean, because Salah's a big name player. I was surprised that Henderson left this summer, but obviously now that Captain Hendo left, we move on. You know what I mean? This is a complete new midfield.
Exactly that. It was a midfield that needed to be ripped apart and resurrected. I get that. I just think that we've been so distracted with that we've lost sight of everything else, in my opinion. Like, I worry for the defense.
Is it true, by the way? Sorry, there's a bit of transfer stuff. Is it true that Chelsea's Trevor Salah is not going Bayern? But Chelsea are trying to sell all these homegrown players, all these academy players for FFP. It's crazy.
Like I say, it's the only reason they're getting around FFP, and the only reason why the Premier League aren't completely checking them right now is because they keep on somehow managing to pull out money from these deadwood players that they don't need. It's pretty insane, to be honest.
I mean that Burnley player, that left back who's going to Burnley, apparently doesn't want to go to Burnley. But Chelsea might have to force him out for FFP and everything. Like, when did Burnley play 30 million for a player? The Premier League has so much money.
It's insane, isn't it? Like, if you were to give Sean Dyche that money when he was there, like, he'd probably still manage to find a bang average, really physical British player to come in. But 30 million to Burnley is insane. The money is insane. But a bit of breaking news as well coming from Fabrizio Romano. He is here we go and moved for Divock Origi to Nottingham Forest. Divock Origi is going to be back in the Premier League and he's going to be playing for Nottingham Forest. And
you know what I don't understand?
Go on.
How are not supposed to signing all these players, like 30 players, like last summer? And I felt like Fulham would have been the best fit for Origi, you know.
Potentially. I think with them getting rid of Mitrovic, I think Origi might have been a good fit.
Yeah, and they have Raul Jimenez, so Origi and Raul Jimenez would have been decent. But they already have Taro Aruni and all these other players that signed this summer.
I agree, but I personally believe that this is a great signing for Forest. I think, like, Awunye is great, but it looks like he's a little bit injury prone. I rate Awunye so much. Like, I've rated him and I've bigged him up so much since he signed for Forest. But the other news today, of course, is that Brennan Johnson has signed for Tottenham. He obviously left Nottingham Forest, 47.5 million. In my personal opinion, he's not worth that much. But in response to that, as a plan to move on Brennan Johnson, Forest have simply gone, okay, we'll go and get Divock Origi. Quality talent. Like I say, Liverpool legend in some people's eyes, definitely a cult hero. Comes up big in the big moments, clutch player, Premier League experience. I think this is a quality move by Forest. I've got to be honest.
Yeah, Origi is a decent player. He will score them about 10 goals in the season. As long as he starts enough games, he will score goals with Taro Aruni.
Versatile as well, can play across the front three, whether it be out wide or going through the middle. I think he's better than Brennan Johnson, I've got to admit. And I can't believe they've managed to sell Brennan Johnson 47.5 million. I think that's an absolute steal from Forest to get. Like, I don't mean it disrespectfully towards Brennan Johnson, but what I am saying is that in terms of his output, he's so inconsistent. He'll run his heart out, and I get that, but his end product, it's so inconsistent that I think Origi is an upgrade. Origi is better. And like I say, I don't think he's really worth 47.5 million. In my opinion, Spurs have just thrown another lot of money down the drain when they could have actually gone out themselves and probably got Origi for, I imagine, a cut price. I don't know what. It is a loan
I think it's
deal.
a loan, isn't it?
Yes, it is a loan deal. I just read the full thing. It is a loan deal. So again, but wouldn't you rather have that loan with like an option to buy at the end of it rather than take the money for Brennan Johnson? I don't know what Spurs' game plan is here.
Is the Paulinho one a Fulham to buying off? I heard it is.
According to Romano, it is. We'll talk about that one a little later because I was a little bit worried that maybe the Gravenberch deal might have fell through had it been dependent on Paulinho. But that one, the Gravenberch one seems to be going through and there's no problem whatsoever. The Paulinho one, though, might be a bit... Yeah, it seems off for whatever reason. And apparently a medical was done. He was in the buy-in shirt, everything. It's shades of Nabil Fekir of Liverpool.
It's Fekir Friday.
Exactly. If you remember the whole Fekir story, you'll know that obviously he was in the Liverpool shirt, medical tests were all done and everything, and then Liverpool pulled the plug at the last second to cancel and collapse the deal. So,
you know, Derek Ray, the commentator, by the way.
Huh?
You know, I think the government window is closed now, but you know how Derek Ray, the Scottish commentator who works for Sky Sports, the Bundesliga and everything, he said, similar to how Harry Kane, an Englishman, went to Bayern, don't be surprised. Again, I think this is more of him being a hopeful as a Scotsman. He said, don't be surprised if Scott McTominay goes to Bayern. Which is an outside stance, obviously, but now it doesn't look like it would happen. I think the government window is closed.
Does their window close at the same time as ours, or is it already closed?
No, I think it's already closed. 5 o'clock Germany time, so it's already past 5 o'clock Germany time. That's one reason why the Paulinho one must have failed.
Well, I think everything was done on the Paulinho side. I think everything was done, so I think it would have been okay to go over time, as some transfers tend to do. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one or two that go overtime tonight and aren't done until the early hours of tomorrow morning.
I mean, the two that come to my mind is when Man United signed Falcao at 1 a.m. and Louis van Gaal's favourite player, Falani, at like 2 a.m. or something.
Yeah. Those two were ones. I think Chelsea did something last year, I think it was Chelsea. Was it Aubameyang last year or the year before?
Yeah, they signed him from Barcelona, didn't they? In Barcelona.
Yeah, I think that one went beyond problems. I think that one went beyond the deadline. So that is I think Germany's is still open, you know. I think Germany's is still open.
When does it close then? Does it not close?
It must be the same time as ours. I must imagine it's probably the same time as ours. Or maybe with the time difference, maybe it's like an hour before ours or something. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but if they do go into McTominay, I would imagine it might be all the same time. I think it's all the same time now. I'm not gonna say for sure because I don't 100% know, but at the same time, I would imagine. But if Bayern were to turn their attention now to McTominay, does that just show you the quality of the league is not superior to the Premier League? Does it also show that Bayern are desperate? Does that also show you that they're scraping the bottom of the barrel in order to get a replacement in for seemingly Gravenberch? Or is it just a case of a stopgap?
I think if they do sign someone like Sloman Timene, just a squad player for what Gravenberg was. And I do understand your point. I feel like the Bundesliga is still considered second best league in Europe because all these Premier League teams sign players from the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
But Bayern don't have that Qatar Airways sponsorship money anymore. So that's the reason why I was surprised that actually signed Harry Kane. You know what I mean? Like, where did they have all that money from? When they don't have the Qatar Airways sponsorship
Well,
money anymore.
they've made a couple of big signings, haven't they? Kane being one of them, but they also signed. Oh, what is his name? The defender's name, whose name escapes me.
Kim from Napoli.
That's the one. Yeah, because he was linked with Manchester United. So that was obviously a big money signing as well. So Bayern have actually spent and splashed the cash this summer. So not exactly like they're broke, but definitely splashed the cash to an extent.
They have more money than they have more money compared to Leipzig and Dortmund, it seems.
Which is why they've been able to win the Bundesliga for as long as they have done in the multiple times that they have done in a row, and why they constantly are known as the best club in Germany. So we're waiting to see. But yeah, we talked about Salah. We talked about. Sorry, do you want to?
No, I was going to say, but Bayer Leverkusen have started well, so you never know what exactly Xabi Alonso is cooking over there.
Yeah. Like I say, I'm hoping, I've got fingers crossed that Xabi Alonso is going to be doing something incredible this with Leverkusen going forward. I just worry that the reinforcement of Kane, the reinforcement of the back line, it might be Bayern's year again, unfortunately. I'd love it for someone else to win it, of course. Like, I'm praying Dortmund do something. I'm praying Leverkusen do something. Even Leipzig to an extent, but...
Yeah, I think them two are the three teams that can try and do well. It's Leverkusen, Dortmund, and Leipzig. They have to be consistent. Like Leipzig have Fabio Carvalho now, so it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Leipzig will always produce players or find players, especially because they've got the whole Red Bull connection, and they'll always find talent like they have done for a number of years.
Liverpool love Red Bull players, you
know. We've definitely bought a few, and a few others have gone elsewhere as well. Chelsea have signed a couple. I think United signed one or two. Obviously, Bayern cherry-picked a couple as well. So, yeah, there's definitely some good scouting of talent that go on with that Red Bull kind of unit over there. But yeah, we talked about Salah. We've talked a little bit about Paulinho and Gravenberch. Man United's dealings. Today, they have signed Sergio Reguilon on loan. We obviously knew they were going to be after a left-back because of the injuries to Luke Shaw and Tarek Malacia. We know that obviously Mark Cucurella's name was mentioned a lot. And then suddenly out of nowhere, it seems that Reguilon is now their left-back of choice. Talk to me about this deal. In my opinion, it seems like it was a quick and easy deal for United to get over the line. Obviously, it's a loan deal, so that was always going to be the case. Is it just a quick, easy deal that United needed? It's not really a gamble. It's just a quick, easy deal for them to get over the line and done with, and then they can move on to Amrabat, say.
I mean, some of the fans wanted the under-23 left-back Alvaro Fernandez to play, but manager makes the decisions. And they've been linked with Reguilon before they signed Alex Telles, wasn't there? So it's a player United must already know a bit about in the data and all that stuff.
That was obviously before he moved to Tottenham, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, I think this is just an easy deal for United to get over the line. I think, obviously, the injuries to Malacia and Luke Shaw haven't aided United in any way, shape or form in the slightest. So they've had to go out and obviously change their transfer plan a little bit to obviously accommodate for a left-back. They wanted Cucurella. I think Cucurella may have cost them a lot to actually sign him from Chelsea. I don't actually think they wanted to deal with Chelsea again after obviously what happened earlier this transfer window with Mason Mount. So I think they actually switched to a much more cheaper and easier alternative in Sergio Reguilon, in my opinion. But of course, the big one today from a United point of view is Sofian Amrabat, a player that they have been linked with all summer. It seemed like it was going to be an easy deal to get over the line, but they've dragged it out this long until deadline day. Talk to me about Amrabat, my dude.
I think they should get that loan done deal, innit? Like, it should happen. Like, come on, it's a loan for the season.
Well,
Just pay up the
Romano's
loan
here,
fee
we goad
and
it.
it
So
would be okay. They
yeah,
got that
I
convincing
agree.
midfielder.
Yeah, I
And he
completely
was so
agree.
good for Morocco, as we know. Morocco were the surprise team at the World Cup.
He was outstanding in that World Cup, wasn't he? Absolutely outstanding. I just can't believe it's lasted this long. That's my issue with this deal. Like, I don't know whether this was planned by Manchester United as sort of like a PR thing or a weird sort of PR spin on the end of the transfer window that they've had, in which it hasn't exactly gone according to plan for them. But like I said, I'm surprised that an easy deal like this, even when they were talking about it being a permanent deal, it seemed pretty much straightforward more than any other deal. Like Amrabat wanted United, United wanted Amrabat. The fee wasn't exactly going to be a monumental price, and it isn't, because it's a loan move of 10 million euros, and it's going to be like another 20 to 25 million euros when if the buy option does get activated next year. I would have thought it would have been an easy move for United, but they dragged it out this long, and in the end ended up only getting him on a loan transfer. Does that maybe suggest that maybe United aren't completely sold on Amrabat, and maybe he's just a simple and nice player to bring in for the short term rather than the long term? What do you think?
Possibly, like, they wanted Amrabat, they just can't afford to pay him the transfer fee, so they just want a loan for him, not me.
Yeah,
I do think United probably do have the money to buy him, they just don't want to buy him. They just want him for a loan for the season to see what he can do.
I agree. I find it strange that they dragged this out for as long as they did. I don't get it, especially when they went all in on Mason Mount earlier on in the transfer window. I think Amrabat would have been the way to go, in my opinion, rather than Mount in particular. But that's just my personal opinion. Does this maybe move United into the conversation even more so as securing top four at the very least? Do you see this being a big addition to that United side, or do you see it being just another player just to boost up their depth and their options in midfield?
I think he would boost that midfielder up. Like, they would really want to get top four. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they do have a European competition as well, so that's one reason why a player would leave Fiorentina from Manchester United.
Yep, Champions League football. There's going to be more football to be played. He's obviously going to be brought in to add depth to that midfield. Obviously, Casemiro can't probably play the amount of games that he would like, probably. He's probably not going to play every game to the same intense level. He's going to want to rest. He might even get sent off a couple of times, as he did last season. So Amrabat coming in provides options there of you can play Amrabat and Casemiro in that midfield as a double pivot behind Bruno Fernandes, or you can maybe play one or the other. And especially if Mason Mount or Eriksen's going to be filling up that other position, it could be one or the other in terms of that aspect. So there's definitely options there for United to
Why do you
explore.
think Donny failed over there? You know? I think they'll loan him out today, but why do you think Donny proper failed when he plays the Ajax away? And even Ten
I don't know, because
minutes.
I don't know whether there's something else going on behind the scenes that we're not sure of. Like, it seemed obviously like when Ten Hag came in, it seemed like, okay, this is the guy that's going to get Donny firing again. This is the guy that obviously knows him. This is the guy that obviously has worked with him before, made him the great player that he is, and the player that we all kind of expected him to become when obviously he arrived at United. Suddenly, for one reason or another, he's not managed to get that out of him. Now, I think it's personally because I don't know whether it's his attitude, I don't know whether it's his work rate on the training ground or whatever the case may be, but he's not brought that over from Ajax, the same level of quality he showed over there. He's not brought over the same level of ability, not brought over the same level of potential that we all saw in him when he was an Ajax player. I'd love to know what you think on it, because I find it fascinating that a guy can look so good under the same manager, with the same level of play, with the same style, under Ten Hag that he had at Ajax, but then look completely different in a different country, different league, different culture.
Yeah, because when he was playing with Frankie de Jong and everything, he looked amazing. And I don't think he's a bad player. He knows how to play the Ajax way, but obviously, when Man United don't know how to play him with players around him, he looks really average. And that loan spell at Everton last season didn't really do anything for him.
It didn't. I remember saying when he actually moved to Everton, I thought this might actually be a decent move for him, because I remember Frank Lampard was the manager at the time, and I said he could learn from one of the best midfielders that ever played the game. And, you know, he may have learned something from him, but we don't get to see it on a regular or a consistent basis. So I'm very interested to kind of know what the kind of story is in regards to him, and obviously this move to Man United, which hasn't quite lived up to expectation. But yeah, I'm intrigued by it. I'm very much intrigued by why it hasn't quite worked out for him, and how he's become from being a much talked about, highly rated player to being a part of United's dead wood that they can't seem to shift on. And talking of dead wood, brings on to Harry Maguire. News today is that obviously United have signed Johnny Evans to a 1-year deal. Harry Maguire is still at the club, seemingly doesn't want to move. What's your take on this? Because I'm kind of on the fence a little bit on Maguire.
I almost forgot about Harry Maguire, you know. I honestly forgot. I almost forgot about Harry Maguire.
How could you forget?
I don't think he'll leave today, because obviously I expect him to stay now. But yeah, we all knew that they were going to keep Johnny Evans. They have Lindelof. They have Martinez. And who's the other one?
Varane.
Yeah, that's a full centre backs. I think they'll sell Eric Bailey.
Is he still there?
I think so. I don't think he went to Saudi Arabia yet. Unless he has.
He moved.
I must have missed it, but yeah, I thought he's going to Saudi Arabia. Eric Bailey.
I'm just gonna have.
I think he was on loan at Marseille last season or something.
According to this, he's still at the club.
But I think they'll sell him to Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is a strange league where they get so many random footballers all around Europe. Like, they pretty much signed loads of players to the point where you're like...
That is bizarre. And so, my question on this is, with them signing a 1-year deal to Johnny Evans, does this now mean that Maguire is pushed even further down the pecking order in terms of centre-backs, because they decided to try and get this one out seemingly under the radar a little bit at United about Johnny Evans? It's not exactly the most exciting signing you're going to see, but it's a solid enough addition to their side. Do you see Maguire's position dropping?
No, I think Maguire would be the backup, you know, because Evans is like slow and old, and that's the only problem there.
I'd probably still take him over Maguire, to be honest. I'd probably take... I'd probably take Johnny Evans in a wheelchair over Harry Maguire, if I'm completely honest, in that type of style of play, that United play.
No, that's fair enough. I just think Johnny Evans is like, he's about 37 or something. He isn't exactly young and rapid for the Premier League. He just has the experience of being a centre-back in the Premier League.
I mean, age doesn't really... I mean, I can't say that age is really something that affects, especially when I see Thiago Silva at the age of 38, still playing for Chelsea and still looking like an absolute unit. So I can't really comment on the age thing.
I would have assumed that he's 39 now, to be fair.
He might be. He might be even older. He might be even older than what I gave him credit for. But still an absolute unit and still an absolute solid defender, nonetheless. I'm just on the blue side. Is the way that Maguire has stayed at United this summer, is that in an indirect sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it an indirect sort of blame, should we say, should be placed on Gareth Southgate? The England squad got announced yesterday. Maguire's name is still on that list of players he's taking. Is this indirectly on Southgate that Maguire is staying? Because it seems like Maguire can play no minutes and still manage to get into the England side. You could also make that same argument for maybe Calvin Phillips at Manchester City. But with the way that obviously Maguire's future in football has been heavily speculated upon this summer, what do you think about Maguire? Should he have gone this summer, or is he okay with just picking up a paycheck every week at United to sit on the bench and then occasionally have to play for England?
I mean, David Moyes really wanted him, innit? That's the only problem. But I am surprised he hasn't left, because obviously he lost the captain armband. So I thought that's his way of knowing that he's an unwanted player at the club. But Southgate, he just takes anyone in it. He just wants Maguire, Calvin Phillips. He even said Jordan Henderson, who was his vice captain for England. But for example, when Harry Kane missed that penalty against France, who was the one who was doing the interview to ITV? Gordon Henderson, his vice captain. Henderson could play in Saudi Arabia, but he'll still be picked for England for his experience. And I think Henderson's close to getting 100 caps soon anyway. He just needs another 20 or something.
It is a bit bizarre that he's taking Phillips, he's taking Maguire. They've not kicked a ball all season so far, and yet
I'm surprised anyway that Calvin Phillips.
So I'm gonna say,
I just don't understand that Calvin Phillips never plays for Man City. Yeah, he just gets picked for England. I don't even know why
he's the most successful passenger in any team. The guy has won everything there is. He's picked up numerous winners' medals over the past year.
So he's
played about half an hour's worth of football.
He's basically the English Benjamin Mendy, which was how Benjamin Mendy won the World Cup without really playing a game.
In terms of the football success, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
correct
what I mean.
on
In terms of
that
hardly
score.
playing games and stuff.
It is bizarre. It is bizarre that he's only played half an hour's worth of football and he's picked up 4 winners' medals or something ridiculous along them lines. But yeah, I find it still ridiculous that Maguire, Calvin Phillips, they both get into the England squad without playing a single minute so far this season, or playing a lot of football, should I say, so far this season, or across the past couple of seasons, really. And yet Raheem Sterling, who's had a great start to the campaign, misses out. I know that's obviously different positions and everything, but I just find it bizarre. Sterling is really picking up his form for Chelsea in the early stages of this season, and I find it just bizarre he's not in the squad at all, to be honest. But I've given up with Southgate and England a long time ago, so whatever the case may be. Conor Gallagher. Conor. Currently at Chelsea. but reportedly attracting the interest of Tottenham as he has done for most of this summer. Allegedly, Tottenham may be readying a bid of 40 million in the remaining hours of this transfer window. Could you maybe see Conor Gallagher going to Tottenham in the closing hours of this transfer deadline day?
40 million for him? Oh my words. Chelsea still know how to get money out of all these academy players. He's not worth 40 million.
We need their negotiating team. If we had their negotiating team, Henderson would have gone for about 80 million and Fabinho probably would have gone for about 95 million.
Liverpool had the famous Mac Edwards who was doing loads of stuff, but now he's gone. Long time ago.
True. Club
but
is
he's not worth 40
slowly
million,
decaying
but
from the inside.
I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if he does leave, so Conor Gallagher. But Chelsea are trying to sell all these academy players for a lot of money to get around FFP.
I also think, and I'm not going to be trying to be disrespectful or anything, but I also think Chelsea fans give him a bit of a bad rap and a bit of a bad reputation. I don't think he's as bad as what they make him out to be. I don't think he's Chelsea level for what Chelsea want and from where Chelsea need to be. But I don't think he's as bad as what they say he is. I saw him when he was at Crystal Palace on loan, and I thought this guy could certainly offer Chelsea something. I think at a lesser club, Spurs could be a good example. Under a new manager, new way of playing, I think he could excel under Postecoglou and at Chelsea and at Tottenham. I just don't think he's worth 40 million, and especially when I'm thanking our club in this instance that, as much as I sort of like Gallagher to an extent, I'm glad we didn't fork out 40 million on him. I'm glad that we went for Gravenberch instead, who was about 34, 35 million on him. So I don't know. I don't know what you think on this situation, but if Gallagher stays, I don't think it would be the worst thing for Chelsea. But if Gallagher does go, if it's 40 million, similar to how I talked about Tottenham and Brennan Johnson and Forest, for them to snap their hand off at that offer, I personally think that's probably the highest that Chelsea are probably going to get for him. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't think anyone else will pay over 40 million for him. 40 million is because he's English and everything, homegrown. Plays a part.
Fabrizio Romano has just confirmed, by the way, that Callum Hudson-Odoi has joined Nottingham Forest from Chelsea on a £3 million fee with add-ons that could go up to 5 million. Hudson-Odoi, of course. I'm about to say, Hudson-Odoi was once highly rated, once a player who.
Do you remember the time where Bayern were linked with him for one whole summer?
Yeah, Bayern, Dortmund, a lot of top European teams were linked with him. He was seen as the next big thing to come out of Chelsea, and then all of a sudden, his career just never really took off, and now he's going to be at Nottingham Forest, and I can't say it's a bad move by Forest whatsoever. But yeah, good luck to him. Interesting move that by Forest. I know, especially because they bought Elanga. They add Origi to the mix as well. It's an interesting setup they've got, but Forest, in my opinion, need to buy defenders. I watched them for the past couple of games, and they were slightly unfortunate to beat Sheffield United, and then obviously completely.
Did you not sign that
Manchester
guy from Sevilla, though? That centre back from Sevilla on a loan. That guy who scored that one penalty in that Europa League.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
I don't know if that's. I know who you're referring to. I don't know if that's enough though. I've watched Joe Worrell and McKenna, Scott McKenna play. I called him Paul McKenna the other day. He's the magician, or the illusionist, or whatever he is. I saw McKenna and Worrell play for the past couple of games. Jesus Christ! I'm glad I'm not a Forest fan, because them two would give me heart attacks, and I have to watch, Liverpool play every week with kind of a.
I still don't know how Liverpool won with 10 men the other day, He proper stole the 3 points. He did not deserve to win.
Strange one. Strange game. I think when you think about it though, like we played the game very well. We managed the game very well. We rode our luck at times, of course we did, but that's why, you know, certain shots are missed, certain times they hit the post. Alisson makes a couple of world-class saves. And then in the end, you just exploit their weakness, and their weakness was a high line that Darwin Núñez was brought on to exploit, and that's what we did in the end. But yeah, going back to Forest, I just think they need to improve their defensive line. I don't think one player is really going to fix that. Like I say, I saw them against Sheffield United. Their defense did not fill me with much hope or much optimism. I saw them against United last week. I don't think they should have collapsed in the way that they did, but there you have it. They did. But this still could be interesting to watch this season. So I'm looking forward to that. Matheus Nunes completed his move to Manchester City today. What did you make of that, my dude?
He basically forced the move to happen in it. Player power nowadays and everything. It'll be interesting to see how he does at Man City, to be fair.
I think once you hear that a team like Man City, with the best manager in world football right now, winning all the trophies that they are winning, in the position that they are, come calling, of course your head is going to be turned and you're going to do whatever it takes to maybe get that move, because, you know, teams like City move on very quickly. And obviously if Núñez wasn't to leave right now, that move may never materialize. It's similar with Paqueta. I know that obviously Paqueta's move fell through for different reasons, but let's say that the move didn't materialize or wasn't going to materialize anyway. Who's to say that that move would be available in a year's time for him? So I think for Núñez, it was the right, in a selfish way, it's kind of the right call to kick up a fuss about it. I don't know if it's the most professional way of doing it, but you know, he got his move, he got what he wanted, City got what they wanted, and Wolves got a pretty good fee for him. What do you just go along with Guardiola's business and just go, okay, if that's what Guardiola wants, that's what Guardiola gets, and you don't question it at all? Or do you have reservations about this move in any way, shape or form?
I think it's a good player for Man City who will add to that midfield. They lost Gundogan this summer, so they needed 1 or 2 extra bodies in there. And they lost Red Mahrez this summer. So, interesting ins and out of Man City.
De Bruyne is also out for a couple of months. Like, we know that they were after midfielders. I didn't necessarily expect them to go for Núñez, but here we are. With obviously this Matheus Nunes deal confirmed, done and dusted. Cole Palmer, though, is leaving, or has left, should I say. Cole Palmer to Chelsea, £40 million is the reported fee that is being said. What's your take on this? Because this one, to me, came a little bit out of the blue, and I was a bit surprised by this one.
Same here. He's not worth 40 million, but obviously he's still seen as a good young player. And I'm surprised that Chelsea can afford to buy players for 40 million. Like, how did you get him around this in FFP?
Like, well, if they're going to be selling Conor Gallagher for 40 million later on today, then that kind of covers it, I guess. But
yeah, like Cole Palmer's a good young player, but like that's the thing. He hasn't played enough for us to be seen as an outstanding player. You know what I mean?
Especially because every time I hear a City fan talk about Cole Palmer, it's always, oh, this guy is going to be like Foden was. He's going to break out of the academy and become a great player like Foden was. He's going to do this like Foden did. He's going to do that like Foden did. A lot of City fans that I heard and spoke with were like, this guy's going to be the next thing to break out of the academy and he's going to be awesome. Fast forward to today, and he's going for 40 million. I wouldn't be surprised if there is some sort of buyback clause in there that City have put in just in case he hits the heights and expectations that are expected of him. But I'm not 100% sure on that one. Like 40 million, big money for a youngster who's, he started to come into the senior squad last season, not really had a full season to really show what he's truly made of
How
right
do
now.
you-
And well,
I was going to ask, with everyone being fit, at Chelsea,
Mhm.
with Nkunku, Enzo Fernandez, how do they fit all these players in the midfield into a team? That's what I don't
that
understand.
is,
They're signing all these players. How do you fit them all in one team?
well, that's the £1 billion question, isn't it? It's the £1 billion
Like,
question that
Nkunku's a decent
Mauricio
footballer. We all
Pochettino is
seen
going
him
to
at
have
Leipzig
to
scoring goals.
juggle.
Yeah, Nkunku's a decent footballer. We all seen him last season at Leipzig scoring goals. So we're like, decent player for Chelsea there.
It's a. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in the history of football, where a team has completely changed the way that Chelsea have in the past year. I know that obviously Nottingham Forest brought in about 30 different players last season, but the money being spent, the ambition, the intention, the statement signings that are being made by Chelsea right now, it's a massive project for the future that is going to be withstood for. On paper, this one should be post Guardiola. So this Chelsea side should be ready to challenge during Guardiola's final season, and then should be there to withstand beyond Guardiola if he is to obviously leave in 2026, which is rumored to be obviously his last sort of season for City. How Pochettino juggles all this, though, in the meantime, and how he gets to that point where he's got to be behind Guardiola is going to be anybody's guess. It's going to be interesting to see. They've got about 4 different players for each position, I think. Like, it's ridiculous. There's still holes in that team, though. As much as they've spent, as many of the players that they brought in, there are still holes in that squad, in my opinion. But you can see where they're going. You can see how ambitious that entire project is. And like I say, for me, Chelsea are going to be scary to look out for. In a year or two's time, they are going to be scary, both on and off the pitch. So enjoy it while it lasts, because I don't think it will. I don't think it will continue for too much longer. But yeah, terrifying stuff. But going back to the Cole Palmer thing, is he better than Jeremy Doku, in your opinion? And is that maybe the reason why Palmer has felt the need to maybe leave City? Because City are going to constantly buy players that are going to be maybe in his position, maybe a change in formation, and maybe Palmer isn't going to get the kind of consistency in terms of starting games that he may feel like he deserves. Is that maybe a case as to why this move has happened?
I mean, it's a great question, but I still don't know how he'll play at Chelsea, my friend. They have so many midfielders. Where does he play?
Frederick Tunley, I hope you're okay, bro. Nice to see you. Chelsea squad will never be scary if they keep changing their whole squad every transfer window. Well, yes, there is that too. It is a great risk that Chelsea are obviously producing right now, and I do think that it needs some stability. So you are right in that aspect. Maybe Pochettino could provide that stability. Obviously, it remains to be seen. But if obviously the projection is that this is going to continue going forward, then yeah, we'll have to see if obviously Chelsea can get to that point. But yeah, a very good point there, my friend. But yeah, I also agree with you.
Yeah, Frederick
Balo.
made a good point, to be fair.
I also agree
Frederick
with
made a
you.
good point.
Like,
Chelsea can't just sign all these players and, try and fit in the team. Like, that striker Gatson they had? Was it Gatson who they loaned out to Union Berlin? It was someone. They signed this summer, but they loaned him to Union Berlin.
there's been
But
that
Chelsea
many
probably,
players.
Yeah, Chelsea
There's
probably
been
still
that
have
many
that
players.
same
I'm
problem
like,
where they have where they loan out 30 players every summer, and I'm like, how are they doing that? I thought FIFA cancelled that many loans in a year.
I think there are certain loopholes you can get around. I think age counts. I think there are also certain other things that
And
Chelsea are great at
uh,
finding loopholes right now. Like it wouldn't surprise me if they found another loan loophole to
so you wouldn't be
exploit. So
surprised if they sold Conor Gallagher to themselves at that's French team Salzburg for 40 million because they have Patrick Vieira and everything.
I mean,
Strasbourg, I think is how
they
you
were
say it.
using their contacts in Saudi Arabia to basically change money to themselves. So yeah, like it's a madness. It truly is, but that's just the way that things are going right now. But I understand your point on
And
Palmer. Like he's
have
obviously joining it
they still have Lukaku, but they loaned him to Roma.
a reunion with Jose Mourinho, of course. So that's going to be very interesting to see how those two get on. But yeah, I agree with your point on Palmer. Like he's leaving a competitive side in Manchester City to join an even more seemingly competitive side in Chelsea. But on the flip side, it does improve Chelsea's homegrown talent pool and everything. So we'll wait and see. Frederick says good points. Poch is a great manager, and he proved in Spurs what he can do. I'm a Liverpool fan, and I'm happy we met them early in the season. Hey, another Liverpool fan, love it, my dude. Yeah, I agree. Going to Stamford
Are you
Bridge
surprised
is.
Nathaniel Phillips left, by the way?
I'm not
Because
surprised.
Van
I'm
Dijk
surprised it was a
suspension and everything.
loan.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I'm surprised it was a 6-month loan. That is the one thing I am
Because
surprised at.
obviously,
Half a season loan, it's
with
weird to me.
because obviously with the Van Dijk suspension for like a few games, I thought they would keep him just for that
Like, I
backup.
don't follow a lot of Scottish football, so I can't really say whether or not it's because there's some sort of injury to a couple of Celtic players that they've gone on a half a loan thing. So I can't really say
I,
that for sure, but I understand where you're coming from as well with the whole Van Dijk stuff. Like right
no,
now,
I get this. I
because
get
we
the sense,
don't
by the way,
know.
because of Champions League, Celtics in the Champions League, he'll just want to play there for a bit.
And especially because Matip and Gomez aren't exactly reliable when it comes to injuries as well.
Yeah.
It is a little bit strange, and
Konate's injured, isn't he? So that makes no sense either.
but
Because Konate missed that Newcastle game.
and maybe I am reading too much into it, but bringing on what was his name? Is it Jeffrey Kwanzaa? Was it? Am I pronouncing the
Yeah,
name
I know you're
properly?
referring to the young guy who came on, but I'm surprised they brought him on at Newcastle away.
And wasn't it 1-0 at the time as well, or was it 1-1?
I think it was 1-0 down. Last 15 minutes.
We were 1-0 down. I don't remember if we were 1-0 down or 1-1. That is a massive statement to make, isn't it? Like, he's a youngster making his Premier League debut, and he comes on when you're
Newcastle away.
1-0 down against Newcastle, chasing the game, and he comes on. That is a big statement to make, and that might be an indication as to where, obviously, Klopp wants to take this kid. And maybe that's why he has moved up in the pecking order, and maybe that's why Phillips has gone, and maybe this guy is going to be Phillips' replacement, a youngster who they can bring through and maybe progress even more so. And maybe with the way that, like I say, Konate's injury prone, Gomez is injury prone, Matip's injury prone, and Van Dijk obviously is going to be out for a couple of games at least. It might be him that's going to get the nod, and maybe we are going to bring through another youngster. I don't know if that's anything that you're following on, but
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. But obviously, I'm surprised he came on Newcastle away because that's like a big stadium for a young player to come on and try to do his best as a centre back.
Agreed. Hodor Peterson, hope you're okay, my friend. Nice to see you. Welcome along to the stream. He says, what is your take on the rumours that Salah might break the transfer world record? Liverpool fan here as well. Another Liverpool fan, growing that fan base. Love it. Yeah, what we've said on it is that we don't expect Salah to go this summer, but it is worrying that Saudi are seemingly stepping up their interest. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does... Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool do at least consider selling Salah. And I'm just hoping that obviously Salah doesn't wake up tomorrow morning because Saudi Arabia's transfer window obviously closes a few days after ours. Wake up and go, you know what? I'll take the money. I'll go to Saudi Arabia and I'll leave right now. So that's... my kind of thoughts on it. Ballum, anything to add?
I mean, any Liverpool fan is welcome to join the stream if they want to. But yeah, I don't think Salah will leave today. I just think it's proper last minute.
Yeah, it would be crazy for the club to agree on something, especially because they don't seem to have a backup plan in focus. Our backup plan, if Salah does leave, will probably be to stick Jota on the right wing or maybe a very young and inexperienced Ben Doak. So we'll wait and see. Nat Phillips deserves a chance to get regular football. Absolutely. I made a video at the beginning of the summer where I basically went through the Liverpool side and I said, who should we keep, who should we sell? And I think for the good of Nat Phillips' career, he should be moved on for the good of his own career. And I think we should have got rid of him maybe sooner because I think interest was much higher in him maybe a couple of years ago than it is now. Missed the boat on that one a little bit, held on for him for a bit too long, and now I think we're not probably going to get as much for him as we probably should have done could have done a couple of years ago. Konsa could be a regular in Liverpool by the end of the season, especially if Konate keeps missing games with injury. Yeah, frustrating that for Konate. Love Konate so much. Got all the potential in the world to be one of the top centre-backs in the game. But his injuries are starting to pile up, and they are very, 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 very annoying. And yeah, if he keeps on doing it, we're going to maybe have to think about cashing in on him, as harsh and as horrible as that may sound. Because although he's very good, his injuries are costing us a little bit.
But I don't think they can afford to sell Salah, in terms of like they would weaken the squad for the European matches, the Premier League, and everything like that.
We sell Salah, we're losing a lot of our goal contributions. Now, it's not obviously going to be completely lost because those contributions will be made, will be spread out across the other members of the team. You imagine Núñez might get more of a chance to start, and especially after last week, he definitely should start more games. He'll get more goals. You think that Jota will get more goals, Gakpo will get more goals. So his contribution will be spread out equally. But in terms of star quality, star power, and winning games on your own, like, I don't think he was that good last week against Newcastle. Now, I know the game and the scenario didn't really play into his hands, and he was doing a lot of running around, and he was left a little bit frustrated. But in one moment, Salah helped us win the game with a fantastic through ball through to Darwin Núñez, who of course finished very well to obviously get the winner. That's what Salah can bring, and he can bring that on a consistent basis. People will say he's selfish. People will say he's this, he's that. He's criminally underrated in my opinion, even to the extent where he's got so many goals, so many assists for Liverpool. He is still underrated by certain members of the Liverpool fan base and by members of any other fan base out there in terms of Premier League as well. I think this guy is criminally underrated.
I got the sense today, by the way, that Sky Sports want him gone, that they're trying to push that Saudi move.
Oh, they want it because everything else has been so boring and predictable today that the Salah stuff is the only thing that's sort of teetering on the edge of will he move, won't he move? And Sky Sports' thing is all day's been weird on it. Like, they put out a story that he left the training ground. Like, he's not allowed to leave the training ground. They put out a story that he waved to the camera. Like, it either seems like they are praying he goes, or they're just hoping something does materialize because this deadline day has been very predictable. I don't know what your take is fully on that, but would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I guess the Saints, they just want him gone today, and I'm like, you know, a bit of Islamophobic there or something. Why do you want the one iconic Muslim player gone? When Klopp clearly said that he isn't going today.
Yeah, but all this, I don't know. Like, all the Saudi press are all saying like a deal's there to be done. They're growing in confidence, all of that stuff. So of course they're going to try and milk it dry. So
yeah, I understand what you mean. Until Fabrizio Romano and Sky Sports come out and say it, and if Liverpool come out and say that they agreed a fee of 250 million, 200 million with some add-ons and stuff, but Salah does have a price, as we know. But the thing is, Liverpool can't afford to sell him in how last minute this is.
I want to say, like, I'm terrified of every time my phone pings and David Ornstein tweets. I'm absolutely terrified that it's going to be in regards to Salah. Absolutely terrified. Like, I don't think it will happen, but I have been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. I'm just hoping I'm not wrong on this one. I'm hoping that we can get at least one more year out of Mohamed Salah and maybe put together some sort of plan as the season goes on, just in case, of course, Salah is to leave at some point in the next year or so. So we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, I think many Liverpool fans expect him to go because the Saudi Pro League are trying to sign a lot of players, but nobody wants him to go today or next week.
Like I say, they pick their moment perfectly. Like, if it does happen, terrified because we've not prepared for this. So Frederick has a deal with Saudi Arabia where we agree a sale next summer. Like Keita from Leipzig could be an alternative. Money is now 1 year to prepare for life without him, and Saudi Arabia can use him in promotions.
That's a fair point.
As a worst case scenario goes, obviously, letting him go today would be the worst. That wouldn't necessarily be a bad scenario, but at the same time, I'd rather, because it puts away all the distractions, doesn't it? At least that way we can not have it overshadowing anything that we decide and hopefully do this season. So I can understand that point, yeah. And Polina does a deal not predictable, though. I guess not, but we also didn't. Yeah. But Salah's a much bigger name than Polina, with all due respect. I get what you're saying. Polina definitely was not a predictable deal today. Did not expect him to be on the verge of joining Bayern Munich before it all collapsed. So I get what you're saying, my dude. I get what you're saying. Romano's just stated Tottenham and Atletico for Højbjerg are currently off. That deal was seemingly off for Højbjerg, so it looks like he might be staying at Tottenham for the foreseeable future, unless something else can be worked out between the two. But yeah, madness there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, my dude, but Salah, Saudi Arabia, are you in any way, shape, or form worried, or do you think it's just media stirring things up?
About both, to be fair. About both. I don't think Liverpool can afford to sell him today, you know what I mean? As we've been saying and stating. Like, Liverpool lose him today, they weaken the squad. It could not get them top four, and they might do average in the Europa League.
I agree. I think the narrative has been all summer that, well, not all summer, but the narrative for most of the summer has been that Salah doesn't want to move. And then it changed to Salah is now open to the move, but only if Liverpool accept a deal. So, and obviously a few weeks ago, we heard from Salah's agent that Salah wouldn't have signed a new deal had he not wanted to commit his future to Liverpool. So the hope is that those words still ring true. The hope is that Salah still wants to stay. The hope is that Salah won't wake up and tomorrow morning or Sunday morning or however long it is until the Saudi Arabian transfer window closes and want to leave. I still think we'll get another year out of him at the very least. I think he's learned enough to maybe see out the rest of his career at Liverpool and retire. But if he wants to leave, take that big payday in Saudi Arabia, again, I can't really say that we should step in his way. Do you?
No. I do think Salah, though, in his first season at Liverpool, he was very unplayable. Like 40-odd goals or something that first season.
He was unbelievable that season. And the only thing that was missing was obviously that Champions League final. That Champions League final would have been so perfect if it had gone the way that it should have gone. Yeah, it ended in a bitter way that season. Unbelievable though. Salah will leave next year, no doubt. If a £200 million bid is rejected today or next week, I'm FSG in all the way. My thoughts. I'm not going to be FSG in if they reject a bid.
I mean, 200 million. Sorry, Flex, but 200 million already is a lot of money. That's the problem.
I know it is. I know it's a huge amount of money. I know it's a ridiculous amount of money. But I don't want... I understand the difficult situation it is, and it's horrible that we're being put into this situation. Like, because it could easily be next time another player. It could easily be Alisson, and then if Alisson goes in like January or something, then we are definitely screwed.
Why couldn't they come in yesterday with the offer? Why today? And there's like 3-4 hours left.
I said this earlier. Like, if they'd have done it at the beginning of the transfer window, it would have been fine because at least the club would have had months to prepare something as an alternative, like a plan B, a new signing, whatever it may be. Because it's happening so late is why it's so incredibly frustrating and why it's so annoying that obviously this is happening because
what did
we
you
don't
make
have
of
time.
What did you make of his social media stuff the other day? Just a casual picture of him in London visiting the Egyptian part of the History Museum or something.
I think it backs up what he was saying about he's open to a move to Saudi, but at the same time, if he stays in Liverpool, like, he'll stay. Like, he seems so casual and laid back about it that he's like, yeah, I'll stay if you want, but I could also move and I'm not bothered either way. Either way, I think he's still going to turn up and still do a job for us. So I'm not worried too much that his head may be in Saudi if he does want to go. But
it's crazy how he went from being a average player when he came from Roma to this superstar player for Egypt, for the Arab world and Muslims and everything like that. Like, he's proper well known now.
Like I say, he's got a massive brand and a massive following. He's an icon. He's an absolute icon in Africa and Egypt. He's a legend. Like I say, that brand following is very much important in football these days, and Saudi Arabia want to take that and exploit that to the fullest extent. Get more eyes from different parts of the world on their product, and of course, bring out.
Have you been watching the Saudi Pro League at all?
No. There is way too much football that I cannot possibly keep hold or watch the entirety of it. So, as much as I would, I might catch the odd game here and there as the season draws on, but there's just so much. There's so little time left in a day, and I have to do this. I have to watch all the other stuff. I have to watch the Premier League, and I have my own life to live as well. So, yeah, if there were more hours in a day, maybe, but yeah, it's. Have you been watching any of it?
No.
I see highlights.
I follow,
If there's highlights on Twitter and stuff, like I saw Firmino, did he score a hat trick or something in his debut?
Yeah, I was going to say,
I saw that.
Something like ESPN Twitter wanted to tell us Cristiano Al Nassr scored. I'm like, whatever, that's a good update to know. You know what I mean? Like
if anything, I'm watching more Messi highlights from his time in America, and Jesus Christ, like I know the standard of football is not.
It's too easy for him, you know. It's
high,
way too easy for him.
It is like he is playing football in his back garden with his kids. Like
it's too easy for him. Like
I saw one where he literally passed it into the goal. The goal that he just simply passed into the bottom corner from about 30, 40 yards out or whatever it was. Like he's ridiculous. He's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, I find him unbelievable. He's absolutely unbelievable. We'll see, obviously, how he goes out there as well. Anything else you want to round up on? Any other story you want to talk about before we close the show?
Do you think Inter Miami win the MLS? Or is it way too late for them to get to the playoffs? Probably too late for them to get to playoffs, to be fair.
It's probably a bit too late right now, but I would imagine for the next season, if Messi continues his fine form and he seems to be helping everybody out that's alongside him, I'm sure Inter Miami will also use that Messi pull as much as possible to obviously enhance and reinforce their squad. I'm pretty sure that they will be top contenders next season, I'm sure. So, yeah. Interesting times ahead for David Beckham's side. What about you? Do you think it's left it too late?
I do think so, yes. And what do you call it? I think it's Romeo Beckham or something. He plays for Brentford B team, the reserve team for the season. So that'll be interesting to see how he does. Whether in terms of it'll be interesting to see what he does in terms of like whether he ever gets that promotion to the first team.
Brentford, I'm sure I read a story earlier that said Brentford were thinking about taking Neil Maupay.
Yeah, I think that's happening today on loan from Everton. That's like Ivan Toney replacement, basically, with a Ramo and all that in that front three.
But why, though? This is a guy that has one good game in every 7 or 8 games and then goes missing for the next 6 or 7. Like,
do you think it's because Ivan Toney, they have... Yeah, do you think it's because... Maybe it's because I've been going for training camp years ago. I think it's because, because they have in Ramo, the French guy, we sound like the left. They would have someone like Neil Maupay, a bit of a French front three who would score them goals, and they have no Ivan Toney for 6 months.
But his finishing is really weird. Like he'll score an absolute worldie. He'll score an absolute worldie on one game, and then he'll miss like a 3-yard sitter in the next. I don't.
Do you remember that lockdown game against Arsenal for Brighton?
Yeah.
Liverpool scored a win on everything.
Was that the one where AFTV Ty went absolutely insane?
Yes.
Was that during the COVID?
Yeah. But you know how some players fit into a system in some teams? He might just fit into Brentford's system where they would help Brentford stay up.
I just think with Nottingham Forest going after Divock Origi and signing him on loan, I would have assumed that Brentford would have gone for Origi more than they would have gone for Morpay. I think Origi's better. I would have assumed that they would have probably gone for him rather than Morpay, but that's just me.
Do you not think Brentford?
Oh, sorry. You go.
Do you not think Brentford needed someone though that's to take over Ivan Toney for a year?
Yeah,
To
I mean,
add at least 10 goals at least.
Mbeumo and Vissa have started the season off very, very well, but they can't obviously. It's not going to be fully sustained for as long as for as long as Tony's out. And plus, you've got to think as well that there's seemingly going to be a lot of teams circulating around Tony, and there was already talk this summer that as soon as the ban's up, that's it. It's open season. There are like so many teams that are circling around him that as soon as his ban is lifted, he won't even play for Brentford again. So it does seem like we may have seen the last of Ivan Toney in a Brentford shirt as it is. So maybe they are preparing for life after Toney. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, remains to be seen on that one. Like I say, I think he would have gone this summer. I think if Toney's ban hadn't have happened, Toney would have moved this summer. I'm 99% sure about that. Toney would have moved this summer if it hadn't have been for his ban. I don't know if you feel the same way.
I mean, Brentford do sell players, as we know.
Yeah, they seem to move on at the right time, and they've got a good scouting system as well. They bring in some decent players, so yeah, I can't argue. Like Brentford are another one of them teams that seem to do their homework really well, and obviously they've got a unique way of acquiring talent. So I can't argue with it, to be honest. Hodor says, I think Ben Doak is a very promising player. He reminds me a bit of Raheem Sterling in the beginning of Liverpool. Doesn't show respect at all to the rivals. Going to be interesting to see how Doak's career does progress and whether or not he's going to be given more time in the first team. I think we're going to see him a lot in the Europa League, you know. Okay. Ballum's just gone. So, okay, we'll finish it up. We'll continue this. I'm going to say, like, I think with the way the Europa League draw has gone, it should be relatively in our hands and in our favour anyway, regardless of who we drew today. But I think we can see a lot more of Ben Doak going forward. And I think we will. I think we'll see a lot more of Ben Doak going forward, and I think we will see a lot more of him in the Europa League in particular this season. And I'm very much interested to see how he progresses. So it could be very interesting to see. And I love the aggressive look in his face when he's on the pitch. Give me an axe and put him on the Viking series and let him grow a massive beard. You talk about Messi there? I think it's Messi. So, yeah. Interesting stuff. All good. Guys, we've gone for an hour and 24 minutes. Almost 24 minutes. Thank you for the invite, Fletch. Let's see what happens the last few hours. Indeed, my dude, thank you for coming along. You made it a great show. So thank you. Can't thank you enough for coming along. And we'll have to definitely do this again. Now that I'm actually going to be starting to do this more often, I'm going to be inviting people on to have their say more and more so. So, yep, thank you very much, my dude. Take care, my bro. Have a good rest of your day and enjoy the rest of deadline day, if that is obviously what you're choosing to do with your Friday night. But yeah, we're going to wrap up the stream here, guys. Can't thank you all enough for stopping by, coming along. All great, all good. Doak, exactly. Ben Doak. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. Doak. Oh well. Can't thank you all enough for coming along. These, of course, have been the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of myself And Ballum, of course, my guest. Absolutely fantastic to have him on the show. As always, made it for a brilliant and great stream. Can't thank you all as well for contributing in the comment section as well. Thank you to Frederick. Thank you to Haldor. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, by the way. I am really sorry. I should clarify. I am terrible with names and pronunciations, if you haven't already guessed. So if I am pronouncing that wrong, I do apologize. Good luck to you as well, my friend. Hope you have a great night. If you haven't already, hit the like button on the way out. If you haven't, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always have to be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. Continue to leave your comments. Continue to leave whatever you want to talk about for future videos or even stuff that I've commented on in this video. Would love to hear from you all. Would love to hear that because it will make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure. You did your best. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that. I appreciate the patience there. It's all good, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you too, my dude. So thank you for contributing as well. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks / all new news video, and I will see you speak to you all again soon in another video, live stream, or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thank you all once again. Hope you have a great night, and I'll see you all again in the next one.